All right, Adam, let's talk about financial independence now because it is so important in creating the freedom and creating the space for us to develop personally, spiritually on every level. We got to have that financial independence component down. So, what do you want to get into first about this financial independence?
I think this right now is one of the most important aspects of even like social media. Even like when we talk about ideas like the 5D, a lot of people may have a grasp on the 5D. However, they're messing up in the 3D. They're getting into debt. They're really struggling. So there is a way for everyone to try to master this reality and get ahead financially. And there's time-tested ways to do it where it's not like you're taking these crazy risks. It's building. It's understanding the very simple concepts. So I'm just going to give you the first step right away. This is what I did. I've struggled most of my life. I've got my ass kicked most of my life. And then this is what I did. I used these time tested ways of building wealth. And this step number one is you have to create a budget. And for people in the 5D, you know that whatever you give your energy to, you kind of bring it to life. So when you create a budget, you got to create the budget to the cent. Don't leave a dollar out. Every dollar you spend, write it down. Every dollar you make, write it down. Money in minus money out is what you have at the end of the month. What you have at the end of the month makes you either a master of this reality or oftentimes a slave. So, and I'll say this often, people sometimes hear money and they're like, oh, I hate money, this and that. Money plays a very important role in our game. If you have it, you can live your life a certain way that you could help more and more people. So everyone has to get that situation out of there. They have to like manage their belief systems. You might have a belief that money is the root of all evil. Very so often, my parents used to be like, oh, that rich person over there, that rich person. And I would think money would be evil. And then you go through life like deflecting money. Whereas if you open up and you look at money differently as if it's a game, I feel like money forces us to like into physical action in the 3D. For example, if we didn't need money, we had everything, we'd probably be 500 pounds right now sitting around campfires doing nothing. But the money actually forces us into the 3D. It forces us to be creative. It feels like it's something we would make up before we came before we came into an incarnation. We'd probably say, listen, how the heck are we going to get ourselves moving? Because the last 50 incarnations, we messed up. We were probably like, all right, let's get this money thing going. So we always have to stay focused. So focus is the first important thing. You focused on a budget. Step number one, budget. Surplus, you need a surplus. So you create a budget. How much money you bringing in? How much money you spending? If the spending's out of whack, you have to cut costs. Where would you cut costs from, Stephen? Like in your life, is there any costs you could cut?
If I had to, it would be like maybe some foods because that I'm pretty intentional with every like all money I spend, but I let myself get, let's say, very abundant and almost free with my spending when it comes to food. Like whether it's the quality of food or like going out somewhere, that's when I let myself go. So if someone was like, you have to cut out $100 this week or this month, it would probably be in that category for me.
And that's what it's about. If you could cut out a little bit here, a little bit there. I'm not saying, be a couponer, be a crazy couponer, but if you could be something like that, you could cut out $5 here, $10 there. Now, these are small dollar amounts. This is where everybody, I feel, goes wrong. Everybody believes they have to make a certain amount of money, and that money has to be 20,000 a month or whatever. They have to get rich. It's not the case. I'll give you the story that in my 20s, I had friends of mine that were brokers, stockbrokers. They were making 50, 100 grand a month. Me, as a teacher and as a bartender, I was lucky to bring in 5 or 6. Now, 10 years down the road, I was building and I built up businesses. I built up real estate and they were bankrupt. So getting rich and staying rich are two different things. Now, getting rich is also becoming financially independent. Becoming financially independent is just basically learning to master this reality. Use this reality to help you. And so we'll keep getting into it because after you cut costs, subscriptions, maybe you could make your own coffee. Whatever you cut, you have to have a surplus because your surplus decides whether or not you really get ahead. So once you get a surplus, and I gave you the example before, finance 101, personal personal investing 101. Here's number one. The first thing, personal finance number 101 is this: you must pay yourself first. Everyone should almost tattoo that on their arm. Pay yourself first. You have a cell phone bill? No, pay yourself first. Write yourself a $150 bill a month and pay yourself first. Because once you start paying yourself, then all of a sudden you might see this small $150 a week or $150 a month, whatever. You might see that money start to grow after a few months. That's what happened to me. A lot of how I teach is by just going over my experience. Now, I always had money, spent money, had money, spent money. I never really seen money grow. I always bought stocks, traded stock, this and that. But the stocks I forgot about were the ones that were always up. The bank accounts that I forgot about were the ones that, not that I forgot about them, but what I did was I used this automatic investing strategy. So right when you got a surplus, step number one, step number two is you want to start automatically investing. I started with $50 a week, I believe it was, into this online bank account. Now I didn't know if the bank account was legit or not. I didn't want to lose all my money. So I was like, all right, let me just make sure it's legit. But I invest automatically set up from my bank account $50 a week. And that went into this investment. This investment at first was the S&P 500. It was an ETF. And I'm not going to get into specific investments here, but basically I bought, an ETF and a bond and a few other things. So I took $150 and split it up four ways to let that money grow. I forgot about that for like 3 months. I came back and that $50 a week was a few $1,000s. And I was like, wow, I was like, oh, maybe there'll be $300 in this account. I had no clue. I wasn't even thinking. I don't know if I was, it was at a few $1,000s. That excited me. I was like, wow, maybe if I double my automatic investment, this will grow more. And that's what started to happen. I started to see the way for us to get ahead right now. We have a very tough time in this reality. We are getting hit over the head financially everywhere we go, with costs, with our insurance, everywhere we go. So you have to learn how to pay yourself first. You have to learn how to do whatever you can to raise that automatic investment. So I was taking $100 a week and putting it in there. It grew to 5,000, then 6,000. Then I doubled it and I doubled it again until it became an obsession, until I was putting $500 to $1,000 a week in this thing because it started to grow heavily. And as it started to grow heavily, I felt good. I was like, wow, I think I'm onto something here. Now, I had so much money in debt at that time, but I didn't care. I felt good. And I was able to think better. I was able to make better decisions. And it's like I built that account up to the 5 figures. And eventually that got to the 6 figures within a few years by automatically investing and building. And when this account was building up, here's where the psychology gets interesting with money. As that account built up, all of a sudden I was like, you know what? I don't want to spend $250 going out to eat tonight like that. So every time I didn't spend stupidly, I used that money for the account. And all of a sudden I was putting more money in, more money in, more money in. And that's how you do it. You
What's the
know?
balance though? Like, at what point would you say, like, I really want to do something that might cost a little bit more money than I'm used to spending, but it's like my soul is yearning for this experience. So, like, what do you use to draw that line of like, I'm investing in this experience as opposed to like, I'm going to cut that cost and focus on investing? How do you balance that?
For me personally, I would probably maybe make goals and maybe like, I don't know, splurge here and there. You could do that. Splurging on an experience is no problem. The problem is with any kind of spending is splurging on experience and paying for it for 6 months because you financed it and you're paying 30% interest. Now, I
Mhm.
remember one time I went to Vegas and I can't tell you how much money we spent, but all I know is I spoke to all my friends and all of us were paying for that trip for like a year straight. Like that's how much money is up. So it's really managing that aspect. I say splurge on yourself. Just make sure it's not something that's going to cost you monthly, cost you more. You know, when you get to $10,000, splurge on yourself. When
Yeah.
you get to $15,000, splurge on yourself, but you really have to get mad. You must, everybody, this is what Warren Buffett says. This is what all the great investments of the past have said. You really must get to a certain dollar amount. The dollar amount I think everybody must get to before you do anything. Like I would live in my mother's basement. I would eat rice. I would do anything I had to do to get to, this is the number right now. I would say at least $100,000. You must get to that. So what you do is you open up a Fidelity account, you open up a Robinhood account, you start automatically investing something weekly that you won't know is missing from your bank account.
Mhm.
Maybe it's $5, maybe it's $50, whatever the case may be. That's what you do. And you can invest in Robinhood right now. I think they're paying 5.5% interest, in a money market account. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So what you do, and when you do an online account, I love it because there's times when my account was up there where I was like, oh, I need to get that money. I want to buy this. I want to buy that. But because I had to take a few extra steps, it stops the spontaneity of this of spending. It really cuts your mindless spending because I couldn't get to the money fast. It would take 3 days, 4 days to transfer over.
Yeah.
So what would happen is after I automatically invest, you watch that money build, then it's like working out. When you're working out 5, 6 days a week, you don't want to eat that donut. All that hard work you did, you're not going to ruin it. So all of a sudden your diet improves because you're same thing with finances. You see your finances building up. And you're like, oh, you know what? Why am I going to spend money here, waste money there? Let me keep building it. Everyone must get to $100,000. Now, here's the best thing about investing. This is a little more advanced, but it must be said. The wealthy investors, they become their own bankers. And they do it like this. They find certain investments, like let's say an annuity, for argument's sake. If anyone knows what an annuity is, they're basically a product that matches the market but allows you a guaranteed percentage in case the market goes down. There's annuities. I have an annuity that's 7% from my when I was a teacher. So that means every 10 years my money doubles. So I think it was 150,000 into this account. Right now, it's close to $300,000. When I'm in my 50s, it's 600,000. When I'm in my 70s, it's 1.2 million, and when I'm in my 70s, it's
Funding.
2.4. So everybody has to understand that's how money works, the compounding interest. So I don't want to get too much investing, but if people want to become their own bank, there's annuities. You got to find them, look them up, Google them, find a reputable company. There's annuities. So if you were going to spend $50,000 on a car, wealthy people won't do that. Real intelligent, wealthy people will take that 50,000, buy an annuity that pays them 4% or 7%, whatever it is, and then they allow you to borrow from the annuity. So instead of paying a bank $60,000 if you finance it, you now become the bank.
Mm.
So there's those aspects of building quicker wealth. Now there's what do you what's your view on crypto?
I want to touch upon two things first before we get into crypto. What you just said is so key, like allowing yourself to become your own bank. That's a manifestation of internal sovereignty. So it's that internal sovereignty showing up in financial sovereignty, which is energy, money, because money's energy. And then the other thing, this clicked for me when you were saying it, is with the budgeting and then the automatic investing. Because a lot of people, myself included, have always looked at budgeting into like, I don't want to be so limited. I don't want to pinch pennies. I don't want to waste my energy clipping coupons. I want to focus on creating and making money and things like that. But with the way you described it, something clicked for me. It's you're not focusing on like the limitation, you're focusing on creating the surplus. So you have your focus on the surplus, and what you focus on grows. So you're expanding that surplus more and more, and then channeling that surplus into automatic investments. And that's like a parallel of like teaching your subconscious mind. You teach your subconscious mind through patterning, and then it just becomes how you operate. It becomes your default activity. So you're doing that with your money through repetition. So it just becomes what you do automatically. And then you build that surplus more and more. So
Well,
that clicked for me in a whole new way when you explained that.
yeah, the automatic investing is the best because you're not really trapped in the 3D. You don't care where your money's going. Your money's going into a guaranteed 5.5% fund, and you're not thinking about it. So for some reason, once I started to build up money, it's almost like my subconscious relaxed a little bit, allowing me a little more room to create. Once you start feeling good, all of a sudden you want to create more. And listen, I've been poor and I've had money, and I create a lot better when I know I have money. Now, here's the thing with money. I've never ever reached, or I don't know anyone either, who has ever reached a dollar amount that they said, "Ooh, I'm rich. Ooh, it doesn't really work like that." Because if you want to get to a certain level, like if you want to be worth $50 million, like Grant Cardone is flying in a private plane. Grant Cardone is living in a $40 million house. Grant Cardone is not necessarily financially independent. He actually has to whip his workers to sell, or else he loses that plane. He loses this. So
Yeah.
you gotta. I think you spoke about this. Whatever it is, you don't want your phone ringing all day. So there's like a balance of work and not really stressing out, so you could create something that you make your life better. Whether it's writing a book, whether it's doing whatever, a podcast like this. But yeah, automatic investing actually takes the thinking out of investing, and it gives you like your subconscious like a break, because it's like, all right, good, I got that going on. And you don't you don't build wealth by making money. You build wealth by your money earning money on top of that.
Yeah.
It's called passive income. So you need passive income streams, and you need multiple income streams. That should be right under create a budget. Right after you create a budget and get a surplus, you really need to create multiple income streams. So if you're a teacher, maybe you want to tutor on the side, maybe you want to write a book, whatever the case may be. You got to create different income streams. I am a baby. I like to pass go, collect 200, and then create on the side, because I don't know if my creation could fund my this. But that helped me because I was able to buy real estate and build real estate up while I was a teacher. So exactly, it's creating multiple income streams is very important. Tattoo that on your arm too.
Okay, and this is a good bridge to crypto because I first learned about automatic investing, and like a lot of crypto people call it dollar cost investing. I learned that through getting into crypto because I've been resistant to all 3D systems my whole life. So I would look at like the stock market and most financial stuff as like, that's some 3D bullshit, whatever, whatever. It's probably going to be obsolete by the time I'm old. So like I would resist it. And I'm not saying I would not recommend like being that judgmental and resistant, because there are advantages of it. You can't just throw the baby out with the bathwater. But that costed me. But when crypto came along, I'm like, this is new. This is different. It's more decentralized. It creates more opportunities for the average person. So I was more into that. So I learned so much about crypto. I spent like a year just going deep into it. And then I started putting any bit of money I had into crypto on a weekly basis. So it was like $50 a week, $100 a week, things like that in like 2017, 2018, around there. So that's how I got into learning about that automatic investing, dollar cost averaging through crypto. So what do you think about crypto?
Listen, I can't. There's 5 companies that rule the world. There's Microsoft. There's Amazon. I order Amazon every 3 seconds. Microsoft has AI and all kinds of things. The Google. How could you beat those investments? I like crypto, but again, if you're going to build wealth, you're going to try, you really want to do it as simple as possible. I don't, crypto is kind of, it goes up, it goes down, it goes left, it goes right. You could dollar cost average in crypto with a little bit of money. But I think the maximum amount of your money should go into maybe like an exchange traded fund, like the S&P 500, the ETF, SPY. Now, SPY is the ticker symbol for the S&P 500. And the S&P 500 right now is a little tech heavy, but put that aside, it still pays like a 2% dividend. Now, once you start understanding money a little bit, you start getting an idea about dividends and how to leverage. But I think if you're gonna plan for the long term, you want something that's gonna be guaranteed. I'm not saying crypto's not gonna be guaranteed, but I'm gonna say the S&P 500 will be around in 20 years.
Okay, I was
Guaranteed.
going to ask you
Like,
that.
so you want to make sure that what you're putting your money in, and listen, there's a way to invest too, and we could get into that. Ray Dalio and Tony Robbins has a wonderful book that shows you how to allocate your resources. You know, a little bit of stocks, depending on your age. Stocks, corporate bonds, treasury bonds, commodities, real estate, passive income, and royalties and things of that nature. There's different income streams and different allocations where to put your money. Once you master that, you could build into that. And the best hedge fund managers in the world, they build their portfolio. Well, the Ray Dalio builds his portfolio on interest rate, based on interest rates. He doesn't care where interest rates go. If interest rates go up, then he's selling this, he's doing this, he's moving that. But if interest rates come down, it's a different kind of investment strategy, buying more stock, whatever the case may be.
Because there's
So,
always opportunity. And that's like the energetic thing, the energetic spiritual 5D thing. No matter what happens, you always have a choice of how you can respond, and you can always respond in ways that are going to be beneficial, no matter what happens.
and that's like the psychology of investing. The market might get crushed, it might get cut in half. Most people would cry and jump out windows and be sad. If the market gets cut in half, I'm going to be throwing a block party because this allows all of us a once in a lifetime opportunity to get in this market when it's cut in half.
Yeah.
So, like they say on Wall Street, when there's blood in the water, that's when
Yeah.
that's when you're
All on
attacking.
sale.
Exactly. So when there's blood on Wall Street, that's when you're jumping in there. When there's blood in real estate, that's where you're jumping in there. You know, and that's how it goes. You really have to look at, like you said, it's like a psychology. So all of a sudden, something goes down. You can't be like, oh my God, what am I doing? When it goes down, you got to get happy. You got to get excited. When that S&P 500 goes down, get excited. Now, instead of putting $50 a week in it, put 100. And if it gets cut in half, put as much as you can. Build, build, build. And there's tax advantages, all different other strategies. But again, once you build the basics, again, budget, create a freaking surplus whatever way you can. You want to get to $100,000 of money staring at you, not to be used, but just so it gives you that energy, that benefit that, all right, I got it, I got something here. Even if you have debt, I'm going to show you. This is 2018. I don't know if you could see good, but here's my bills and my debt in 2018 was around, $3 million.
Mhm.
Those green lines, I used the debt snowball strategy
Mhm.
to pay my lowest balances first. So I had so much debt. I had money coming in, money going out, so much debt. So I had to balance it. So I automatic invested and that built up. Thank God. Most people don't. Most people take all that money and buy and pay off their debt. Really, you pay yourself first. And then when you have $100,000, maybe you get an annuity that pays you 4 to 7%, whatever the case is. And then if you need money, you can borrow from that situation. So it's not like you're using banks' money. You're
Yeah.
using your own money and paying
Yeah.
yourself the interest. That's genius. That's how you get rich quicker.
Yeah.
$100,000, try to get that annuity and do it like that.
And you're sovereign that way. And you reminded me to ask you this when you talked about debt, money coming in, money coming out. What do you think are like the mindset blocks that people have that keeps them in that cycle of money in, money out? Like whether they're making a couple thousand a month or whether they're making tens of thousands a month, a lot of people are caught in that mode of money's in, money's out, and they never quite build and compound.
Yeah, I don't know how much the technology plays a role in all this. All I know is I'm on Amazon and I spend $1,000 and I'm like, what just happened? You know what I mean? Like, so there's really managing that, like that spontaneous spending is everything because that'll get everyone. But the budget should help you focus on where your money's going. So a biggest problem people have is, all right, you're working your job, you get out of your job, and you have no time. You have kids, you have this, you have that, you have all that going on. So that's when you really have to dig deep and get creative. I know a lot of people right now around me are struggling, and it's interesting to see how they're going about things. But a lot of people are in heavy debt. They might lose their house, and these are people that were millionaires. So I'm interested to see what they're going to do. What I say is what's important to me is like a job that you could work that will not monopolize your time and allow you to maybe build a business during that job. That's how you could really do it. So if you're a single mother, if you're struggling, whatever the case, if you're struggling, you want to find a job that's not too much responsibility. Not too much, where you could make phone calls, where you could build. So you're not like working till 5 o'clock and then working from 5 o'clock to 11. Find a job that you could think and do the work in the job. There's certain jobs. My friends are firemen. They're firemen and they have a very dangerous job. Any second they could die. However, a lot of their time is free. And what do? They build businesses, construction businesses, this business, that business. And they're the ones that are doing real well. The city workers who have a pension, who have annuities, who have a retirement account, and who are building a business while they're working. That's genius. So if you could build a business while you're working, you'll be able to manage that like, living paycheck to paycheck. Because you won't waste time after work trying to be creative. You're doing it during work. So you got to, and again, that's an art trying to find the job. You also have to follow your passion. You can't do a job that you totally hate. Do a job that you just make some money and you have a little bit of responsibility. Too much responsibility will kill you. I
Yeah.
don't care how much you make, even if it's $1 million a year. If you have to spend 12 hours a day at a job and that's your only income stream, you could actually, if that job goes away, or even if it doesn't go away, 30 years after working like that, people drop dead of a heart attack the day after they retire.
Yeah.
So it's a strange concept.
And you have no time or energy to work on yourself, to develop yourself, to even be present with your friends, family, and like your whole life becomes sucked into that. And like you said, it's all about intention. It's about being intentional with your money, like how you're spending it, how you're investing it, and intentional with your time and your goals, like that fireman example. If you have a goal, like I'm building this business, you're going to use your downtime as a fireman to build that business instead of like just fuck around on your phone and scroll Facebook or, watch the news or something like that. You're going to use it productively. But let's go 5D here. And especially with those kind of people, a lot of people that are like spiritually awakening and all that, they can't even they don't even want to work a job. They're like, I'm going through this awakening. I see so much. Like, I want to work on myself, all that. I don't want to work a job right now. Like, what do you recommend for people in that position, or what do you think about that?
It's really everybody's birthright to be abundant. Now, abundance doesn't necessarily have to just be limited to money. And Bashar talks about these concepts. He talks about the 5 forms of abundance. Money is one of them, but there's also other forms of abundance. And again, when you feel abundant, you somehow attract more abundance. That's how this reality works. So a person could do other things. They could trade. All right, listen, I'll give you a haircut. You paint my nails. That's just a very basic example, but that's a way, but nobody thinks of that. Nobody thinks, listen, I'll give you this, you give me that. It's called barter. We'll never hear about that. You won't learn about that because that's against, you can't tax that really. So if you're in the 3D, who knows? Maybe you give somebody a reading and maybe they give you tomatoes. I don't know. Something like that if you're in the truck. But I know that I don't believe, and people might get triggered with this, you have to have money to really know who you are. Because I've seen a lot of 5D people get a little taste of money, and boy, oh boy, did they turn into Kardashians.
Mm.
They're driving this, they're pushing that, they're wearing this mink, they're this and that, you know what I mean? So here's this 5D person, all of a sudden, they're more 3D than the 3D. Some people are 5D because they can't, master the 3D. So they create their 5D within
Yeah.
them, but it's
Or it's
really,
escapism that way.
yeah, escape, exactly. So you really have to, that's the number one thing. As far as star seeds and everything, I think that's the number one thing where everyone goes wrong. You kind of got to master your reality a little bit first before you can, and that's what draws me to like a Billy Carson. A Billy Carson's in business and this and that. So he brings these esoteric concepts, but he compounds that by, understanding business. And
Yep.
once you understand business and you've done good in your life and that, then you know who you are. But you really don't know who you are until you have money. I was an asshole in my 20s and 30s, kind of. I could spend money like crazy, this and that, spraying champagne, living crazy. However, as I got more mature, money started to come to me, and I was like, thank God I didn't get rich when I was younger like that, because that would have led me down like the lotto winners. I'd be like in a gutter somewhere in Vegas. So when we mature and we're able to handle, once you have money, you realize that we're all poor. That's the psychology. It's like, oh my God, all right, I made this amount of money. I have this amount of money coming in, and I'm still looking over my shoulder. Any day I could get this or get hit with that or do this so there's never a comfort. And matter of fact, the more money I had, the more money I felt like people were taking from me. I was like, it was such a strange psychology that like but everybody needs to get to a point where they have, and listen, money could be having just a job and having 300 in the bank. That could be money, and that's great. If you have children, it's a little bit of a different story. You really have to master the finance game, especially if you have children. So that's why this is important, because not 99 out of 100 people are failing financially. And I failed financially for really most of my life up until, the last 5 to 6, 7, even, 10 years. I work 16 hours a freaking day, you know, 6 days a week. Not a lot of people could do that. So and there's new pathways to what you would call success. To me, success is fulfillment. It could be, being a teacher. It could be playing the piano and, teaching people online how to play the piano, $30 a day, whatever it is, $30 an hour, whatever it is. Everyone has to define their own idea of abundance, but there's money, there's trade. Also, you get gifts from people, start writing that down. All of a sudden, you might see that you're quite abundant. You may get a gift over here. You may have somebody give you a little piece of advice over here. You may have an idea come into your head. You may have whatever. You may have gifts, money, barter. Put these all together and you really say like, wow, I am quite abundant. But what I would say for everybody, if you're in the 5D and you're struggling, you have to partner up with people and pool resources. That means your housing. That means your food. Why can't, 10 people, jump in a house? Why can't somebody plant food in the front? And think like that, pooling resources until you get to a certain level. And then it's automatic investing, forgetting about it, letting it build. And it's time. Money builds not because of interest rate. It does build because of that, but really because of time and interest rate. So I'm kind of going all over the place here, but so if you're in the 5D, you still got to master the 3D components of finance. That is budget, know what you're spending, take that money, automatically invest, forget about it. Live your life, create, have fun, and continue to increase that investment. And watch people don't understand the true cost. So some people come into like $500,000, and what do? They buy a Ferrari. They think a Ferrari is going to cost 350, and it does. Then they find out that the Ferrari has a scratch. All right. And they find out it's $30,000 to fix that scratch. All of a sudden, their tire breaks and the rim gets dented. That's $20,000. They don't understand what they did. Pete Davidson from Staten Island. I bartended with this kid's father. So his father was actually a great guy. He died in 9/11. But Pete Davidson is a kid on Saturday Night Live. He bought the Staten Island ferry with the other dude from Staten Island Live. They bought it for $300,000. I actually wanted to buy this thing because my father worked on the ferries. You know, he was a first responder at 9/11 because he worked on the ferries. So I kind of like wanted to, but I was like, damn, what the hell am I going to do with a ferry? Where am I going to store it? It could cost me $50,000 a month to store it, or you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Sure enough, these guys buy the ferry, and now they're paying all these fees to like just like manage it. And they didn't realize it's going to cost like $3 million to renovate the whole thing and turn it into a restaurant. So they kind of they got screwed a little bit. So you have to know the true cost of things. And you again, you're going to build by the S&P 500. Crypto, you put a little of your money in crypto. You don't try to go crazy with it. I don't know much about it. I know it could have benefits to many people. I just listen. If I'm JP Morgan, if I'm the leaders of this world, you ain't getting nothing by me. I'm buying that crypto as you're selling it. I'm sending bad news through my networks so
Yeah.
everybody sells crypto, and
Yeah.
I'm telling
While they're
everybody
buying
to
it.
hold it.
Yeah.
And then as it comes down, I'm buying it like these fools. And then I'm
Yeah.
owning, eventually they'll own it if it's serious.
Of
So
course.
again, what you're doing is taking their game, taking the powers that be, taking their game and not using it against them, using it with them. You see, the powers that be created a system of capitalism where their puppets are given opportunities to capitalize on. And how do they do it? They do it by insider trading. But besides that, they do it by so many different things. By hitting into the World Trade Center and shorting the market. But they also do it by compounding interest, dollar cost averaging. Those are time tested those are the only strategies that really work for me. Trading, if you're trading, I'm going to say open up your window and just jump out the window. If you're trading, trading is gambling. That's it. I've
Yeah.
never made money trading. I made money only selling options. That's a different strategy. I've never made money buying options. I think I'm like 5 for 500 in buying options. Selling options, I'm probably 75% profitable, or maybe 85, which is interesting. That's a way people could build big wealth through knowing those types of investments. So, for example, once you have the surplus, the automatic investing, if you're immersed in the 5D, you want to partner up with people who might have a hold on the 3D. So if you're a 5D and you're psychic, this and that, you gotta find somebody who maybe has a little more grasp on the 3D. Maybe they're not 5D. Maybe they're completely 3D. Maybe they drink a beer when they come home from work, from a 9 to 5, whatever the case. That's the person that you gotta kind of like, I would say that would be the smart. Listen, that's just my own advice, what I would do. I would make sure if it was a guy or a girl, it wouldn't be another 5D'er. Another 5D'er and you guys are picking berries together, butt naked, in the woods. So someone has to have a grasp on the 3D.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's finding that balance. And also we need to be able to master energy either way. So even if you if you don't participate in this collective agreement called money, you could live in the woods, but how many people are going to live and be able to survive in the woods? Very, very, very few. So, since that kind of isn't an option for most people, you got to master this collective agreement we call money. And that's how you create that balance. And through mastering that, you're also mastering yourself because it's all energy mastery. And I
And
want to transition to new ways of doing things because people are now viewing digital content, creating content online and things like that as an investment, as a possible income stream, or as something that's going to build in the future. So what do you think about that?
listen, I'm very new to the content creation game, and I'm not really the person to understand that game that much. But there is a person, I told you about. His name is Alex Finn. Now, Finn's an interesting kid because a few months ago, this kid he just had something in him. I could tell he was, going to do great things. He has the ability to communicate, but I think he's the number one content creator, perhaps right now on X. So he runs spaces, and he's now running spaces with like Don Jr. and Tate and the biggest names because he is a neutral person. He's able to run spaces and to bring these big names on and to manage that. So he's a person, and you got to cut through all the information. There's newsletters, there's so much information out there, it bombards you. But Finn has a newsletter that I learn more from than, and your newsletter also, Steve. Both of your newsletters, I get so much information from, it's not even funny. So when I read your newsletter and it's telling me what to do, how to write, how to get moving, what to think, it's like amazing. So with your information on the creation side, you combine that with like an Alex Finn. Now what Finn is doing, he's building these little communities where a bunch of us, get together and we talk about this and help each other out. Because I think content creation could be, the beginning of something great if you know how to do it. There's just so many people doing it. So how do you do it? He has some great, like, listen, if anybody was to follow him or get on his newsletter, I think he has a $60 a month course where everybody gets together. You find that kid. Find Alex Finn. He's on X, running spaces. Listen, he's got it going on. Once you manage that game, then if you have a message, you could get it through Alex Finn. You could get it through content creation. If you wanted to throw a course out there or try something out, a lot of people are like, oh, this idiot's selling the course, he's grifted. I actually learned so much from buying courses. It's not even funny. I mean, I personally don't sell courses, but if anyone makes one, so there's courses, there's books, so like you said it before, you put something online, it could earn money forever. Am I right?
Mhm. Yeah, and with this is another money thing with, let's say, courses. When someone buys a course, they become more invested to apply it. So there's that factor too. When information's free, unless you're super self-motivated, 99% of people aren't going to apply it. But if you pay something, there's that energy exchange and they become invested, then they're more likely to apply it that way. And I
That
also
is
want to
so true.
ask you, like, let's say I know you're kind of new to this whole content creation and things like that, but let's say you want to get better at that. How would you approach that? Like maybe even using some of the mindsets that helped you build your investments and wealth in those investing systems, the traditional systems. How would you apply that mindset to getting better at like content creation if you were to choose that?
Listen, if you're like an introvert or if I hate social media. I'm not necessarily an introvert. I'm an extrovert more than an introvert. Ambivert, what do they call it?
Yeah, yeah, ambivert.
Ambivert, whatever it is. But if you are, not that vocal, if you're not good at social media, you got to find the Alex Finns of the world who are. And you have to partner with him and support him. And what he does is he helps you out and gets you to his knowledge. Whatever you do, if you want to play basketball, you find the best basketball teacher. If you want to be in finance, you find the best finance professional. You want whatever you want to be. Now, Alex Finn happens to be the top person in that type of game. Going over algorithms, codes, and he has certain things. And I'll give you a couple of things he says if you go follow him. He says that things I didn't know. He's like, listen, there's certain things you have to do to game the system, to game the algorithm. I don't do any of them. You're not supposed to follow everybody back. I refuse to do that. So I follow everybody back. Don't reply to people whose followers are less than following. I reply to everybody. I don't care who it is. If you hit on an account that says more replies because it's like kind of hidden, it's hidden for a reason because it's hidden and if you reply to that hidden person, your algorithm gets deboosted. So there's certain things you could do, and X doesn't really want people selling things on their site. So there's ways to do that. You're not supposed to put links in your initial post. What you do is you write a post, and then maybe on the second or third, maybe you write a thread, and on the last thing, you could sell a course or do something like that. People do that. I think everyone should get everything working. Try content creation, try making a course, try writing a book, try throwing it out there, whatever. Especially if you have information. There is an energy exchange. I have information I can't even tell you, from certain people that have helped me throughout my life. They're going on it, and I got so much information from them that I got my book. My book is in hand.
Nice.
A little smaller than I thought, but no, it's actually it's like the design. Now we got to like finish the design, but I
Yeah.
got it in hand. That's a big accomplishment. I don't care. I don't even
Yeah.
want to sell the book. I just wanted to get it in my hand to see if it could be done. If it
Yep.
could be done, that's good. But what's in that book are the 5D principles to not only master this reality, but to live your best life. And the people who helped out are now winning NHL Stanley Cups. They're almost getting to the Super. You know, they just. I've seen how people master this reality from the mindset. So again, I'm going all over the place, but as far as content creation, you got to partner up with people who might have different strengths than you, and
Yes.
that's what that's about.
I'm seeing three big themes. One, you said you would find the people who are doing it well and partner with them or learn from them. That's key. Like a lot of people don't think that way. A lot of people just want to figure out everything on their own. Two, you said basically to learn the game. Know the game that you're in. Know that any social media platform, they want to keep people on the platform. And how could you navigate that game to do what you want to do in terms of expressing your message or building a business or helping other people, inspiring other people? Understand the game that's being played so that you can respond well and play that game for the benefit of yourself and others. And then three, you said this too, like don't be afraid to experiment. A lot of people get like so concerned, like they feel like they have to figure everything out before they try something. But people that are successful in
Yes.
anything, they try things. You're not afraid to try things. It doesn't mean like you're going to throw all your money into something, but like do a test. Did that work?
Dude,
Oh, did
that's
it?
it.
Let's try something else.
That is it in a nutshell. Get going. What this kid Finn says, he's like just turn. He's like spaces are really getting boosted. So if you're running spaces or if you're running lives like this, you get boosted. So that's interesting. If you could get boosted by running lives, you're really at the beginning of all this right now. And as far as running these lives and stuff, what was the last thing you just said? What was the last thing you said?
Experimenting.
Yes, experiment. You just got to hit the camera and start talking because X is going to start looking for videos. Now, I don't care about it. I'm not going to do it myself or anything. But if for people who want to grow on X, what you would do is they're looking for maybe shorter videos, 10, 15-second videos or something like that. So whatever, you have a little message, you put them in video, just hit the phone. Don't worry about being perfect. Just hit your face, hit your camera. That's all. You don't have to be a professional. People try to start a podcast or whatever, and they're buying this, they're buying that, they're looking for a studio, they're spending 50,000. No, just hit the camera. A lot of courses that I paid money for are the worst courses I've ever seen in my entire life. Now, I'm not saying to do that, but these people made millions off these dumb courses that I didn't get any value from, but they made money from it. So it's like, just get going. That's it.
Yep. Yeah, and it compounds and it snowballs that way, and you can't be afraid to put your feet in. And also, oh, this is what clicked for me when you were talking about just pressing the button and going live. That even allows you to express what your soul's trying to express without the ego getting so much in the way, because we all have this inspiration and messages and things that we're wanting to share, but then we try to like overcomplicate it or plan it or make it so that people like us or things like that. So that like cuts out that ego middleman, and it's like, all right, I'm going to share a message from the heart and just let it be what it is and see and go from there.
Oh, that can't be. That's the greatest thing I heard in this entire year. It's just like that. Get it going. You speak from the heart. Don't care what anybody else says. Just get it going, throw it out there, and see what happens. No, 7 people will like it. 2 people will call you an asshole. One person will say you're the devil. You know what I mean? And it's just not taking any of that shit to heart is how you master this reality. Who cares? Guys call me an asshole. I am an asshole. Whatever. You know what I mean? Who cares? Not caring what anyone says, just doing it. Yeah, I'm an asshole, but that's how this works. Now, I don't really have any enemies. That's my thing is I have nobody, that really, but there will be on this type of content creation path. So the idea is who cares? Use any kind of publicity is good publicity in this game. So, if somebody's blocking you and hating you, this or that, that could, whatever. That's just, it goes for you more than against you. So it doesn't matter. Really, it's the idea of taking with the people's hate and just like loving it. Like, yes, you're not getting ahead until people hate you. That's when you know you're getting ahead. When people just despise you, that's how you know you're doing good.
Yeah, creating those ripples in the matrix. And
Yeah.
I'm seeing some parallels here. to like what you said about people who are great investors and people who, like the fireman example, having a goal. When you have like a focus and a goal and you're intentional with what you do, the little shit's not going to throw you off. The same goes for content creation. If you know you have a message to share and you're on that mission, you're not going to let like your fear about what other people think, or if something gets no likes, or if someone hate, you're not going to let that throw you off. You're going to stay focused on that mission and keep going. So that's a parallel that I'm seeing with the investing, with building a business, with content creation, everything.
Oh, that's exactly. It's all about everyone, getting together with people too, like me and you getting together and doing something like this together. So we're both in this. We're both involved in this together. It's not me. It's not, so that helps too. You're building networks, genuine networks. I really built genuine networks on this app, X, good people. And it's amazing because you could find people that compliment you, and you could find people that really have unbelievable talents, like you, like an Alex, like many other people I've met. They're very talented at what they do. And if everyone brings their own ideas together, that's like when all the magic happens. All of a sudden you're creating with people, and that makes it a little better. You don't have to create alone. Find somebody who's better at, the internet. So find somebody who's better at the technical aspects of creating content. There's something called StreamYard that you're supposed to maybe do when you're running a live. I didn't know that. There's something called Canva. Canva is the best way. You could write posts from Canva. You could make unbelievable courses from Canva. There's something called Thinkific. Thinkific is one of the better course makers. It does a lot for you. So you could just get going. It's actually fun creating. I know that when I was creating stuff, I created so many things that after I created it, I just threw it away. Because I really wasn't creating it I was kind of creating it for people. I was like, but then I liked it myself and I just threw it away. I really don't want to sell anything like that. But that's what it's all about, creating.
Process of creation. It
It's
kind of becomes fulfilling in and of itself.
Yeah, and it's like you just said something unbelievable and you hit the play button, and all of a sudden you forget your ego. You're being you're channeling something. I don't know what I'm going to say when I jump on these things. And you jump on these things, all of a sudden you're getting messages, you're getting this, you're getting downloads. And that's where the beauty comes. I know when I'm writing, and I know it's probably for you also. You're writing, and all of a sudden words come to you, and ideas come to you, and all of a sudden you write 20 pages in a matter of 2 minutes. And you're like, what the hell just happened? It's like, what was that? Was that me? It's like when we create, we tap into higher aspects of ourselves. But when it comes to finance and personal finance and content creation and all of this, the idea is to really manage your debt as best you can, manage your spending, and build. Get that surplus. Now, if you owe $100,000 in credit cards and things look bad and this and that, there's ways to negotiate that. There's other methods to get your debt down. A lot of people are just so done. I had over $5 million in debt when I was at my top. It was even a little more than that. And I had money in the bank. I had property that would cover that. I had assets, but still, I just had a lot of debt. I felt like I was working for the banks. And that I would remember, I was in New York City, in Manhattan. There was a homeless person on the floor. And I said, damn, that guy's lucky. What could that homeless person owe? $50 here, $100 there, 2,000, whatever the case. I owed over $5 million, and I was jealous of homeless people. So a lot of people, even billionaires, I feel bad for many of them. If I see somebody in a private jet, I feel bad for them because I know they have to meet a certain nut each month. So it's the psychology of money that will help us all help each other. Because when one person's driving a private jet, and everybody else isn't, you kind of want to everybody come together. There's different things that we could all do to have fun without riding private jets. We don't have to. We're fools if we're going to play that game. That game is created because that's the slaves are the ones that have to do that. People don't understand that. The slaves are the ones that have to be the billionaires and the multi-millionaires. They're not financially independent. Their phone's going 24/7. They have so much risk. Every second they're getting sued. Look at Alex Jones. Look at, Elon's getting hit over the head here and there. Look at Trump, has to pay hundreds of millions. It's just when you're at that level, the 100 million billion, a lot of people are jealous of those people. I actually feel bad because I know at that level, you're working for banks, you're working for people, you're working for investors, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So the psychology of this is just listen, let's all get together, pool our resources, help each other out. Ideas and inspiration from one another is also abundance. It's a gift. And this is what it's all about. You pull a few different key points. Like, I don't know how you're pulling these points from me. You have like a photographic memory or something? It's not even making sense.
I don't
You
know.
pick some points and then you're going over them. That's like, what is that?
I just connect
Why?
I just connect dots. Yeah, I'm realizing that. Uh, and what you're saying, I totally agree with this, and this is why this information is so important. Anything with money and creating things and coming from a place of we're incorporating spirituality and the 3D and the 5D, it's so important because when people create wealth and they create things with the intention not of like buying private jets and Lamborghinis and showing off from an ego perspective, but from the intention of creating more beautiful things in the world and helping people and investing in things that are going to help more people, that's where the magic is. And yeah, I think that is so, so important. Getting more people who think that way to get more money and people with money to think more that way. And that's what creates so much beautiful change in the world.
Yeah, Dr. Joe Dispenza talks. He had some great points, Dr. Joe Dispenza. He says a lot of we have problems. Maybe we owe a bill here. Maybe we owe a bill there. Maybe whatever it is. Everything, you got to like attack one thing at a time, one bill at a time, one problem at a time. Bam, attack that. Once you attack that, the energy from that gets added to the next thing, which makes you doubly focused to attack that.
Mhm.
Now, I show you this. I use the debt snowball strategy here. So here were all my debts. I had student loans. I had this. I had that. I had all kinds of things going on. For many years, I had these debts, but I was able to pay one debt off, use that balance to pay the other, pay the other. So not only was I building wealth on the end over here, but I was paid all that money off. And then I swear to God, like towards the end, I was like, wow, if I sell this property and that property, I can actually pay all of this off and have this. And so ideas were coming to me and thoughts that I never would do. So once I got this ball rolling and I was focusing on it, then you're led. I don't know what we're led by, but you're led. Your ideas and decisions become easier. And listen, exercise plays a very important role into being able to think. When you're stressed out, when you feel everything's against you, one of the best things to do is go exercise, go walk, go weight train. It helps you handle stress. When you handle stress, you feel good, you think good, and all of a sudden, you're making better decisions. And I don't know what the correlation is. I don't know if it's feng shui, I don't know what it is, but there's a strong correlation between my environment being clean and neat and my finances being clean and neat. It's like, wow, good things happen. I don't know if good things are happening and I clean, or I clean and then good things happen, but
It's
whatever
a
the heck
mirror
it is,
either way.
that could be the easiest thing. So you're stressed out, your life is against you, you don't know what to do. You're hearing this guy talking about budgets and this and that, and so you're like, oh my God. The first thing everyone should do is you got to clear your mind. By clearing your mind, you clear your environment. Clear your environment, get out for a walk, start thinking of ideas. The ideas are waiting to come. 40% of all American dollars were just printed now. Now, what people don't understand about the banking system is it's not just true. They printed, let's say, $12 trillion. That $12 trillion in a fractional banking system that we're in it could be $200 trillion. And that money's waiting to be found. There's a story about a guy who dies and he goes to heaven. He's like, God, I'm so mad. All I did is pray to be rich and you never made me rich. I wrote you letters, I prayed this and that. And God was like, couldn't you have at least played the lotto? Or did this? Or couldn't you have at least took a risk? It was like something to the light of that. God was like, I was waiting to give it to you, but you didn't do anything for me to get it. So it's like when you do it, especially when you follow your passion, really when you follow your passion, whatever that passion is, money seems to find you and good things. And when you're good to people and you're giving and you're helpful, Matt Caldwell, the president and CEO of the Florida Panthers, this kid goes to South Florida. He's like, how the hell am I going to get fans in a South Florida stadium. Hockey, nobody looks at hockey. Hockey's this, hockey in South Florida, it's a great sport, but it's more for the North. Not only did he have to go against the idea that he had his team in Florida, but Tampa Bay was the team that everybody loved in Florida. So if you lived in Florida, you were a Tampa Bay fan because they were winning the Stanley Cup and they were in the playoffs often. So he had to go against that. He had to go against South Florida. And what did Matt do? He went out into the community himself and helped the community. He went to hospitals, he went to schools, he just went out in the community to help the community. This is what he did. He used the idea of gratitude and helping others and just being of service in the community. And before you know it, people were coming to this is how I can't believe it. It's going to be one of the greatest stories ever told because he went out into the community and built that organization up. That organization just had, good luck. That whatever it is, and now they might win the Stanley Cup. They're up 3-0. And how did he do it? He took the worst place team. It was an energy thing. I look at it as an energy thing. Obviously, there's players and there's the player side of the thing, but organizations win because there's an energy. And who are CEOs? People that must set the energy. Set the energy right, and that's what this kid did. He went out. How did he set the energy right? He gave back. Most people are struggling because they don't give. Give somebody a free this. Give somebody a free rating. Help somebody here. Help somebody there. Do whatever you can to help people, and you will be helped. That's how he did it. Now his team is going to win the Stanley Cup championship. I believe it's more of a 5D reason why he did it, more than actual because I seen it, and because he's helping me on my book. So that's why. This is why the Florida Panthers really. Nah, that's what I said. But it could be, whoever helped me on this book, they went on to do great things. So I look at it as both an energy perspective, and if you're really struggling, down and out, give, and help out. That's how Matt mastered this world, by being of service. And there's one more thing I keep blabbing on here, but I want to say is a lot of people don't like working in this environment, and I understand. I too can't see myself really working like that. However, I know that anytime I got a job, I was able to think in that job. I was able to really focus a little more. And it's a physics thing. The more you get moving, the easier it is to move. I don't go to a day job like that. So what I do is I watch people come home from the day job, and I'm kind of a little tired in the afternoon here and there, and they're like ready to go. So I'm like, damn, once you move and get moving, it's easy to keep moving. So go out and get a job. Spread your light at Home Depot, at Starbucks. Go be a bartender somewhere. Go get out there. Go find something where you could get a pension. I don't know. Go become a garbage man, a fireman, or whatever, a teacher. Go get a job. Get moving. People aren't going to like that, but that's how you really get the ball rolling.
And
Spread your light.
there's always unexpected skills and learnings you can have too, especially when you keep yourself open. And also, if you have goals, like if you're trying to build wealth long term or build your own business long term, you'll pick up these skills. Like working in a restaurant, you could pick up certain sales skills from being a server at a restaurant. I'm a copywriter, so I use these copywriting skills I'm picking up to channel into my author business and my content creation. So there's all these things you could pick up and channel if you keep your eyes open. But if you're so resistant and judging, you miss out on those opportunities that actually can strengthen you and help you long term.
Yes, Esoteric 101 is this. You got to take action in physical reality. Action is rewarded. You can meditate all you want. You could sit and take this on. You could go to mountains of Tibet and meditate your life away. However, this is physical reality. So when you take physical action, you start seeing the patterns of this reality. And you allow this reality to guide you. So when you take physical action on something that you like to do, something that gives you a little bit of a flutter in your stomach, and then you go in that direction, again, you don't have to build the Great Pyramid of Giza, you don't have to build anything. You just take one step in the direction of something that you might like to do. Again, it could be any job, it could be anything. And once you do that, maybe you're led to this job. Maybe you go become a bartender, and all of a sudden somebody sitting down is a stockbroker, and they're like, listen, you're a good salesman. That's what happened to me. And before I know it, I went from being a bartender to a stockbroker. just because I was bartending that day. So that's right, you're guided when you take physical action. Allow the universe to guide you. There's so much money out there that you could poke holes in it by taking action. Taking focused action and purposeful action. A lot of people take busy action where they're like, all right, I'm going to take action. So let me read this, do this, do this, do this, do this. No, there's something called needle movers. Like you got to move the needle. You know, I wanted to buy property, so I wasn't going to real estate courses, this and that. No, I was visiting properties. I was doing the numbers. I was, focused on that. And all of a sudden, I was able to see it in my head. And then once you see it in your head, you bring it to life.
Mhm.
But you got to get moving. Needle movers, not busyness, needle movers. Focused attention. That's what it's about, I say.
I agree. Uh, let's wrap this up. Do you have any final words or do you want to reiterate something?
Yeah, again, I like going over the summaries of these things just
Yeah.
so everybody gets a little bit of an idea. So again, the first thing everybody does, it really doesn't matter where you are in your finances, whether you're poor, whether you're rich, you really have to make a budget. How do you make a budget? You could go on numbers, like the app, the website numbers. Microsoft offers it, or Apple offers it. You could do it on Excel, Microsoft Excel. You could do it on Microsoft Word. You could write it in your phone, in your notes, whatever. There's also websites that do your budget for you. So every time you spend, you put the money you spent in. However, I don't know if those websites are mining your data. They definitely are. So there is that component. So you got to do a budget. Once you get a budget, you got to get to the surplus. Whether you're selling stuffed animals that are 25 years old or whether you're getting another job, you got to create the surplus. That surplus has to be automatically invested into something that's going to build. Where you're not going to look at it, it's going to build. And then I promise you, you're going to feel better once that starts building. The idea is not to take that money and buy a car. The idea is to know that that is your way out of slavery. Let that build. Let that build to $100,000. Everybody should have $100,000 of the hundred trillions of dollars that were just released. Everybody should have at least $100,000 now. If you don't, you got to get there. And then once you get there, if you're not there, if you're struggling, if you don't have a job, you must partner with people. You must find people. You must be, giving and this and that. And then where are we? Then again, it doesn't matter how much you make. It just matters what you do with your money. You're not going to try to get rich in crypto or anything like that. I don't think that would help anybody if they made $50 million in a day. If you don't know how to stay rich, then it doesn't matter if you get rich. You have to know how to stay rich. By knowing how to stay rich, then perhaps the universe will allow you to get rich. And there's all different types of incomes. There's passive income streams, like investing in treasury bills. They're boring. They're 5%. But if you're a professional athlete, what they tell the professional athletes is, listen, you don't try to get rich twice. So what they say is you're not taking heavy risks after you made $50 million. You're buying treasury bills. You're making 5% on your investment. And you're living off that. And you're living, because what you spend is how much you're enslaved in this 3D reality.
Mhm.
So every dollar you spend, you're like stuck in this 3D. So look at it like that. And that's pretty much it. But every dollar earned is a brick. You could use those bricks to build something that'll make more bricks, or you could use it to throw it away. Now, experiences get a little different. I had many good experiences, and I'm like, thank God I didn't save money and I did that. However, right now, it's a very serious time. The prices of everything are nuts. You must figure out this financial component of this reality, or you must get creative by building your own little community somewhere, somehow. But the communities, you got to make it non-creepy. You can't be like a church where, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Where they're
Turn
too.
it into a cult and yeah, all
Yeah,
that.
exactly. It's got to be, like, listen, no creepiness. You got to be whatever. But you know what I'm saying. So that's it. And then you understand content creation for fun, not because you have to do it, because you want to do it. Whenever you want to do something, then it's fun. And create with people. I say, because I wouldn't do this if I didn't do it with you. I probably wouldn't jump on here. So that's it. I could go on all day, but we get the point. We'll do it next week.
Yeah, we
We'll get a
will.
little more in debt, yeah, a little more in depth with as far as where to put your money and this and that. And I'm not selling anybody anything. I don't care what you do with your money, this and that. But If you want to struggle your whole life, then struggle away. But if you don't, there's simple things you have to do. And these are them. This shouldn't be
Beautiful.
taught in school. But that's it.
Of course.
Love you,
All right.
brother.
We'll turn this into a series. Thank you
Yes.
so much for sharing all this.
Series number one.
All right.
My man.